Do we have a quorum?
We do.
Okay. All right, I would like to call the Groton Board of Education Committee of the whole meeting to order. Today is April 13th, and it is 6:02 in the evening. Is Joan here?
No.
Okay. Because what is not on the agenda is the approval of the minutes, so she can't get mad at me. It's the small things in life that make me happy. Hi, everyone. How are you?
Doing okay.
We're good.
Excuse me, Kim, Joan is just getting on.
Okay. Oh, shoot. She's still going to be mad. But actually, I didn't do the agenda this time. You did. All right. All right. So, did Jay make it on?
Yep.
You know what?
Yes, I'm here.
Oh, hi, Jay. Did Jay, did the person who was wanting to get on, did she get the information or did he get the information?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Hi, this is Jane. I am on.
Oh, hi, Jane.
Hi, and Lee is not able to make it. She, first of all, I didn't know who Mark Russell was. I don't know his name. So I called Lee and she told me that she cannot be at the meeting.
Oh, okay. All right. Well,
So I'm
thank
going to
you.
try to get Rosemary by phone, and otherwise we're all set.
Thanks, honey.
All right. So actually, the reason why I'm stalling is because the first couple of, hi, Susan. Happy belated birthday, my friend.
Thank you.
So nice to be able to celebrate your
Yeah, virtually.
birthday.
Virtually. So I know that we're going to have a couple of our kindergarten colleagues coming on
Okay,
to
great.
talk to us. And I had said something to Mike about maybe getting them on earlier in the meeting.
Okay. I don't think that they're here. I mean, I see Nadine is here.
Yeah.
Who else is going to be coming?
So we're going to have Meg Walker, who's the TK teacher,
Okay.
and Beth Horler.
Okay.
And then we've got a couple other K teachers that have been working with Meg all through the year and helped set up the whole program.
Super.
So that's Patty Wicklin and Carrie Federico Baker and Corey Mott. But I think that I'm going to call Dennis just to make sure he lets them in.
Okay.
I gave him an email.
Corey, Jane, Meg Walker's here. I think
Oh,
you
good.
got a call. I think you got. I'll accept
Okay.
that.
All right, good.
Yeah, I don't see Beth. All right, Dr. Grenier.
Yes.
So maybe in the future, either Mark or someone else can be responsible for getting the people on. So, because you're up on agenda.
Yeah.
Hi,
Okay.
Meg. Good to see you, Meg.
All right. I'm gonna keep talking.
Hi, thank you.
You're gonna hear me.
Hi, Beth.
Okay.
Hey,
So,
Meg. Yay!
yeah,
Yay! I haven't seen you.
my agenda item is
The update from the CSDE. You know what? Wait,
Yep.
1 second, Mike. Sorry, I gotta
Yep.
slow down. Are kindergarten people here?
I'm
Yeah.
trying to see who's on. There says 30 participants. Wow.
Beth said send a message. She's here.
I'm there.
Oh, good.
So-
Joan is on.
Oh, Carrie's here.
Okay.
Looks like Corey might be here. I also invited elementary principals. I see Chris Dauphinais.
Okay. So Susan, the reason why I'm asking this question
Okay.
is that I would like then to make a recommendation, folks, if we can move to that agenda item, which is to talk about the transitional kindergarten program, so that our friends who have come to join us don't
Mhm.
have to stay for the whole meeting. They can get their stuff done and they can leave us. So if
Thank you. That would be very much appreciated.
that I try to please, don't always get to do that, but I would like to do that. So do I have any complaints? If just a thumbs down from the board if you are. Jay, I don't see you yet, Jay. I know you're here. And Jane, are you okay with that? Okay, so I'm hearing no complaints, and so I would like for us to move to the presentation of transition the kindergarten program for the board. I think what we were trying to do is we are trying to get back to some normal things, and we had talked about last time when we approved the transitional kindergarten program that we would have an update, because we are going to need to start planning about what we're going to do for the following year. And so either to take it off the pilot, to keep it on the pilot. And so this was sort of our attempt, or my attempt, to kind of get us back to some agenda items so that we don't lose. So that's why this agenda item was on here. And so Susan or Mike?
I guess I'll start with a little welcoming to my wonderful colleagues from the kindergarten team. It was really the entire kindergarten team, preschool, pre-K team, and Beth that initiated this a couple years ago, of our kind of collaboration, coordination, our concerns, especially with the elementary principals, of some children who were not ready for kindergarten. They were still 4-year-olds. They were being expected to do Common Core state standards, which are wonderful for 5-year-old kindergartners, but we felt like there was a lot of pre-work that needed to be done. And so in our discussions and talking about our curriculum and how we can even modify it, teachers have already done a magnificent job differentiating in their kindergarten classroom for our youngest learners, who are 4, and, you know, really working hard throughout the year so that they can attend first grade. But each year it does seem like we do have a handful of children from each school that need to repeat kindergarten. And when we look at the data, we were noticing that most of them were very young learners, had very little preschool experience. So we noticed this trend. That's what got us to come together to research what would a TK program, transitional K program, look like. And with the board's support, we were able to pilot it this year. And I'll say right off the bat, this team has continued to work together and support in creating this curriculum over time in 6-week increments, under the leadership of Meg Walker, who is the teacher, but with the support of Carrie and Corey Mott and Patty Wicklin, and Beth Horler, and just to name a few, because there were many of them who came to the table to work together. And I think we learned a lot along the way. We learned a lot, not only for TK, but we gave ourselves permission in kindergarten to do those developmentally appropriate things that we know are important. I remember one teacher saying to me that she brought the kitchen set back, and brought back, some of that, performance-based education. So it's been really very productive for us. And I would say off the bat, it has been a success. And I'm going to let Meg go from here to talk a little bit about that success. We would love to have your support for another year of Transition K. As a matter of fact, when I met with the kindergarten team just about a month or 2 ago, they were saying you could probably have 2 Transition Ks, or you may even one day see, unless the state decides to change their age frame or we get universal pre-K, you might see, a TK in each school. So that's their kind of gut feeling on this, looking at the number of young learners that we have who've had limited preschool. So Meg, that's your segue.
Thank you so much. I did see a question about the program. It is a transition from not being in school to kindergarten. Oh goodness, I'm sorry, my smoke alarm's going off.
You could do a Groton Board of Ed's meeting like SNL if you want to.
We heard all about that.
Meg, could you just take the batteries out of the smoke detector?
Kim,
We're working on it downstairs. There we go.
Kim, I was going to say the exact same thing. This is Zoom with the SNL crew.
Sorry about that. So it's been a a great start to the program. Like I said, these kids will be hopefully doing, most of them, another year of kindergarten next year. And I've just seen amazing growth. We've really focused on those foundational literacy and numeracy skills, giving them things like concepts of print and phonemic awareness skills that they lacked coming in without that preschool experience. And then just focusing on counting and working with numbers through 10. And I've just seen great growth in their learning, but also something that I've noticed is that these are the kids that when I taught kindergarten would feel frustrated by school, would say things like they don't like school. And that's not something I hear from my students this year. They love school. When they can't be in school because they're sick, their parents will send me a message saying that they miss it, they want to be there, they're begging to go even though they're home with a fever, which I think just speaks really well to how these kids are going to go into kindergarten next year. They're going to be ready to learn. You know, we've worked a lot on coping strategies when they feel frustrated. How do you handle that frustration? Playing together. How do you share toys? Not just share, but build story together. So their play beginning of the year was very parallel, and now I see them creating events with the Legos or creating events in dramatic play. And so really just seeing that development for them across time. I think they're going to go into kindergarten ready to do those Common Core standards to be writers and readers and mathematicians.
You also were able to Zoom with them. Tell us a little bit about your experience going live.
I was able, I had about 7 kids get on. And the things I was excited about is a child who in January still couldn't name his classmates by name, was looking at who was on the screen and checking in by name on kids. Where's this one? And where's that one? And why aren't they here with us? And then to see the questioning they were doing of each other, their parents all were able to get them on the screen where they could see each other's faces. And they were noticing, hey, he has a puppy. What's your puppy's name? Or didn't you get your, they saw, my parents were on there and they saw Miss Haley and wanted to know if Miss Haley could bring her sister over. So I was really impressed with the language skills that we were seeing at the beginning of the year when I wasn't even hearing full sentences from these students, that now they're asking those questions, they're listening for responses and, moving into that more community-based approach.
Well, like we know, if we can set the foundation not only for the academics, but the social emotional learning, we've done good work. And I know that you had even mentioned there were some little girls that say were earlier fall birthdays and were, like leaders in the classroom, and you can see them leaders in school next year. And I think you might have even broached the subject with one of the parents to say she probably could go to first grade, but the mom actually said, I really want to take the time. I think this is a good place.
Yeah, I do. I have several parents who, one parent who actually didn't even want to send their child to kindergarten yet. They just thought they, really wanted that extra time for him. He's doing great, but they say, they want him to love school and have that transition in that is positive and not feel that rush and that pressure when he was just 4, So, and then, I have students who I said, they could go on. The parent said, I think I'd rather see her have stronger foundation. I talk about how, they have a lot of the components, but there are holes. And so I think that second year is going to fill in those gaps for them even more robustly.
Can you, Meg, can you just help us out? There's a couple of members who are somewhat new, or I'm just kind of old and I can't remember the whole structure. So did we end up with 2 classes, 1 class? Where is it stationed? How many kids? Is it an AM, FM? AM, FM.
There you go.
See?
Too much technology.
Yeah. So I have 1 class of 15 students. They're there for the full day. We're at Claude Chester. And so we follow their schedule. So they have a lunch and a recess and they attend the specials like any other class. And actually that's one of the best parts is that the specialists were nervous. They haven't done a pre-K special before and they were afraid it was going to be pre-K, and they actually tell me that they're their favorite kindergartners because they have been able to take the time to learn how to sit on a rug and listen and follow directions. And so they're really functioning very well there.
Carrie or Corey, did you want to say anything about this project, this collaboration at all, and the support you've given, or what you're noticing in your own K classrooms, how this could be beneficial for some of your little guys?
So just because I recognize every single face, but I don't always remember, guys, where you are located. So if you could just do that as well, that would be helpful.
So TK is in Clodchester, and Jamie's given tremendous support, and she actually has interventionists going in to the classroom too to help Meg, so it's really worked out well.
I teach kindergarten at Northeast, and I just think the program is beautiful in so many ways, and it really, really helps the kids that maybe are not, they could do it, they could get through it, but they're going to develop little things like chewing on their clothes, things that where they're looking for comfort that is better able to be met in Meg's TK classroom. It is, I cannot say it enough how beautiful this program is, and I'm friends with many of the parents and they love it. Their child cannot wait to get on the bus, and it's kind of like, I think of it the way kindergarten used to be when I started teaching. And it's just instead of a drop into school, it's like a little sled into school. So it's a nice way to do it, especially if you're 4, I think.
Meg, is it your understanding that the 15 folks that are going to be there, your little ones, that they're going to be sort of scattered, sprinkled throughout the district?
Yeah, that is, and they do come from not all the schools this year, but from several of the schools. My plan had been, had we been in school, I would have liked to have done a bus tour with them and gone to visit the schools just to help that transition, but unfortunately we're at home, so.
And my name is Corey Mott. I teach kindergarten over at Mary Morrison. Pretty much with this project, I was kind of just organizing the data and on all the students and note-taking for meetings. But for us over at Mary Morrison, one of the things like we've all noticed is like we have a couple of kids who we screened who parents decided that no, they didn't want to go with TK, even though we recommended it. And those kids are really struggling and will probably be repeating kindergarten. And then we have a couple of students who moved in after school started and are that young age that could have benefited from the TK program. But because they came in late, you know, we couldn't get them screened in. Jumping off of what Carrie said with chewing on the clothes, one parent actually approached me from Mary Morrison. Her child was supposed to come into kindergarten. I don't know if, I don't think Meg shared this story, but the parent was like, oh my goodness, my child was at the start of TK was chewing their shirt. You know, whenever they're nervous, they're chewing their shirt. But within a couple of days, they completely relaxed. And I talked to them about how, well, as you can imagine, you know, if they were in kindergarten, the amount of work that we're doing in kindergarten is so much more. And your child may have been doing that through the whole school year. I mean, I have kids in my class now who are really young, who are chewing their clothes all the time. And they're 4-year-olds. They're chugging along. They're just, you know, chugging along and making it, but I can see the stress and anxiety in them. So it would have been great if, for those kids, if they had if they were able to go into TK program, but not everyone can go to TK. We only have one class, so.
So, and these are wonderful kindergarten teachers, and they have classrooms that are just so warm and receptive for these young learners. But there is a lot going on these days, you know, in reading and writing and math for kindergarten. And so, like I said, we've learned a lot along the way, and we feel like Meg has certainly brought the workshop model into her classroom. She was a workshop teacher when we hired her from Killingly. So she just kind of, you know, married into the family here in Groton, and everybody's been supporting her, and she's supporting everybody else. And we certainly would like to have this program for next year. And when our new schools are built, you know, we'll see what happens. There's been talk out there that Alliance districts may be the first to get a universal pre-K, and wouldn't that be a fine thing? So we'll see what happens in the state, but we are interested in making sure our youngest little learners are in the just right place and getting everything we can give them.
Gretchen, now that you raised your hand. Hi, Jamie.
Hi, how are you? I'm so sorry I jumped in quick. But I did want to just say kudos so much to Meg. Are you able to hear me?
Yes.
Okay. And as far as like the academic piece, Meg does it in a way, I have to say, and it's with the team input, as well as my literacy interventionist, Kristen. You had mentioned, Susan, that she's able to get in because we are supporting them. But Meg does that social emotional piece throughout all of her lessons so that the kids are really able to find that success. So thank you, Meg, and thank you, team, because it has been really successful. Beginning of the year, parents weren't sure. Some were saying, what is this? My child's coming home and saying they're playing. And Meg does an amazing job to reassure them that it is such academic based as well with that play. Just to say thank you again to the team and to Meg.
I would like to recognize Gretchen.
Hi. How do we choose the pre-K, the TK, whatever we're calling it? How do we choose which kids come up? Like, if you have two children who are they the fours going to be five?
That's a great question, Gretchen. I'd be happy. There's two criteria that are most important. That the child is 4 when they enter kindergarten, so they really are our youngest learners, and the child has had very little to no preschool. Then what we were able to do last year was do a screening, a kindergarten screening, like probably in the old days when your sons were going through school, where we brought them into the school and we learned more about them. We had them do some play. We did a little assessment with them. And then with that information, we were able to additionally give a test called the Brigance, which really does by age give us a lot of information. Corey was able to put it on this spreadsheet that was confidential, and we were able to look at the list. The unfortunate thing was that the list was probably at least 30, 35 children that could have probably been, you know, in the program, and we really had about 15, 16 seats. We really felt it was necessary, especially being a pilot, to keep it at that small size. And I think that that really was a benefit to it. But we do get a lot of young learners. So there are a lot of children who haven't had a lot of preschool, and they're still 4 when they come to school, and maybe until December.
Yeah, I had 2 of those.
Mm-hmm.
But they were
Any
good
of the
leaders. They were well social and preschool, but it would have been really nice if they had
Right.
a little extra time.
Yep.
So how are you assessing that kids that should?
So Gretchen, unfortunately, I think we lost you a little bit.
I don't know if I heard the question.
No.
And
So Gretchen, you're actually now frozen. So if you want to like put it on the chat screen, if you can still hear me, that would be great. Because we lost your question, you froze. Liz, you had a question?
So I just wanted to clarify, are we looking to expand this program? Is this what we're, the reason we're looking at this right now is to see that there's a need and that we want to add more schools, or just to go over the transition kindergarten?
well, I think it's to give you, oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay, Sue. I was just kind of wondering what, I totally agree with this because I had a young son as well. And I find that, and he's 38 and he still struggles. So, you know, I mean, the thing is that this is a valuable program, and it's something I can hear, you know, 15 kids in the classroom I thought was a lot. I was thinking more like 10. So, but are we looking to expand this into one other school or a couple of the elementaries? You know, that's my question.
So Liz, let me just set the stage for you on this. So last year, the kindergarten team brought to the board that there's some concerns about the fact that because of the age where the cutoff is, that we're having a lot of young kids, and that we wanted to pilot what a transitional, what a TK program would look like.
Right.
But really, this is the reason why we're together tonight, is to want to get feedback from people. Like, is this a value? Has this been helpful? And then two, for the board then to kind of think about with the kindergarten team about what are our next steps. Do we increase it? Do we keep it the same? Because I actually don't know if we're going to even know the impact of that until our kindergarten team gets those kids that were part of the TK.
Right.
That would be my thought. But I believe that is the reason why it's here right now for discussion, is because we wanted to talk about it in spring, and guess what? It's the spring.
I would highly recommend that we continue with the one TK program, and it make sense in the future if, especially with the consolidation of schools, that it might give us the opportunity to add on another one. We've got to wait and see a little bit, but I would highly recommend that we continue with this program at Claude Chester.
Rita, you're on mute though.
Okay, I have 3 quick questions. One is there an estimate for how many K students may be retained this year? If I don't know if it's too soon to ask that question. My second question would be, if the state changes the start date for students to go to schools in Connecticut, would we continue to need this transition K in the future? Or do you feel it's more the children that are starting young, or is it the students that have not had any preschool?
So the first question you ask is actually on our agenda for the elementary principals with Mike and I tomorrow to talk about, our students and this year is kind of very different. We're at this point, I'm not sure that we're even going to get that spring screening in that was so valuable. And, I've even talked to Mike about the possibility of through the Alliance grant, bringing some teachers together to do a screening in the summer before the last August date, but that's still something that we're just dreaming about at this point. So we don't have the same amount of data. I am getting the data from Gigi on our entering kindergartners and their ages, birthdays, and the amount of preschool. That's what we did last year. So that will help us with the incoming kindergartners. The kindergartners currently, interesting, when I talked to the K team today, a couple in every school who were actually recommended for TK or on that list somewhere, now they're really recommending to repeat kindergarten. So they've been in their own home schools. They didn't get into TK, but they did have that criteria. Maybe not to the same degree that the TKs did, but they're finding that it has been a struggle, like Corey was discussing, with his little guy. So, it's definitely a concern if the state, and I actually talked to Desi Nesmith at the state of Connecticut and told him about TK, and he wants to talk about it some more. So he was open and receptive to, thinking about that. And, a lot of superintendents have expressed their concern to the State Department of Education regarding the age. But at this point, we're just trying to do the best we can, knowing that hasn't changed. So.
But what is it, the feeling that it's more the children that are starting that are still 4, or will there always be a need for some students who haven't had pre-K?
I think that at least that combination of kids who are very young and have had limited, some of them have had a little preschool or maybe a home setting preschool or a couple days a week. But, I don't know. I think that, both of those factors together seem to definitely be a recipe for needing more time.
Okay. And I
more instruction.
I just wanted to say that I would be in favor of adding another transition K if we had room in our schools, even before the 2 new schools come online in another year. So that's my feeling.
Thank you. Yeah. So I'll check in on those GG numbers just to see how that's falling, how that's coming together for us.
And also let us know about how many students may be retained.
I will. we'll get
Thank
that
you.
information.
Corey, did you have a question? Corey?
Well, I was just going to mention that because that's the discussion. A big question there is, is this because of age or lack of pre-K? A lot of those kids that are in that TK program, 4-year-old, anywhere else in the country, they would not be in school right now.
Right.
To wait until
I
next,
know.
Or they would be in preschool.
or they would
Right.
be in a preschool program.
Right.
Yeah.
And I know Rita and our whole Board of Ed, Kim, all of you have said, boy, if we could have universal pre-K
Yes.
for all of our kids, what a difference that would make. And I do believe that would make a huge difference, no matter how old the kids are,
Yeah.
to give them
I
that.
agree.
But
So I do have a couple questions, and because Corey, you made me think about them. So I guess what do we do now in light of COVID-19 in terms of testing, and is that going to put the team further behind? That's my first question. My second question is, what do we do about those kids, or could we? Wow, I'm going to try the sentence one more time. When people come into the district, considering the fact that we're a military school district and they're young,
Yes.
how do
Are
we?
you on?
Yes, I am.
Son of a gun, I can't.
Is there a plan moving forward about what to do about those kiddos who kind of come in like in September, October, November?
well, that was part of our discussion today. I know Nadine is on and may like to speak to this, but overseeing, like she does, the preschool, pre-K, and our early childhood programs along with elementary, she's really been instrumental in bringing people together. So she's part of the reason that we've even been asking these questions of ourselves. So I don't know that we have an answer. I do know that this team did a marvelous job looking at the screening. Everybody was doing a little something different in our different schools, but they really came together and pulled together a case screening that makes sense, and using that data and seeing how we were able to select kids for TK and the kids who almost were ready, almost could have gone in. We really felt that data was, a good match. And then using the Brigance, which Nadine uses quite a bit with the preschool team. I don't know, Nadine, did you want to add anything else about the data and how to collect the data with COVID? I don't know if you have any magic, but.
I don't have any magic answers. Good evening, everyone. That was actually, as Susan said, that was one of the things that we discussed at our last in-person meeting regarding TK, was how to make decisions, when school has started, if we have new students who move into the district who would be perfect candidates. So we don't have a definitive answer right now in terms of how that process will take place. But it's definitely something that's on our radar that we'd like to formulate some type of some sort of system, because we know that actually, that came up this year in terms of just new students coming into the district who would be perfect candidates for this classroom.
Right. And I know the elementary principals are very interested too. And Jamie, especially, being the principal of Claude, to make sure that we have a protocol for if we want to save a few seats so that as military children come in, we would have those seats available.
Yeah, we had brainstormed just a little bit, and then of course this whole thing happened. Whether it is that wait list at schools, because we also had a student come in, or a couple students come in, where we tried to gather and screen using the sort of protocol that we did in the beginning of the year. It's just tough once the school year begins, and there is always at least a few more other schools. So having that sort of system in place would be really beneficial. So more conversations to come on that.
So board, do we have any more questions? Rita, I think you gave some direction in terms of information that we want to have back. So thank you, Sue, for picking that up. I appreciate that.
Yep.
I guess we probably should be having this conversation again, and maybe an update from you, Susan, at a regular board meeting. So we would have to have an update on the televised, because we will be back together. I promise we will. Mike?
Should we, since it's a pilot, should we put this on the 27th of April, at least to project next year? We're going to do at least one.
Can you state that again?
Yes. What I was saying was, do we want to include this as an agenda item for a vote to extend the pilot for 1 year, at least for one class, so that we can proceed? Or if, you know, I'm so impressed, I'd actually recommend that we just vote to remove the pilot and continue the program, expand it if we want to in the future, but to finalize the vote now.
My concern about that, Mike, is that we are going to have 2 new elementary schools. I think that program might look different. And so would it make sense to continue as is and then extend?
Sure, whatever.
I don't know. I'm just thinking.
I would just want the teaching staff to know if the board's desire that we will in fact have a transition K next year.
I by all the nods that I'm seeing, okay, there's a couple of people who I can't see, but by all the nods that I am seeing, it looks like people are very much, I mean, I think that this board has been very pro the earlier we can get to kids and to get them settled and to enjoy the school, I think the better. So I have a sense that is true. Gretchen actually brought up a really good point in her chat. So I'm just going to read that for you, Gretchen, if that's okay. This does not come from me. This comes from Gretchen. Is that she said, watching news today, there are different educational leaders with what might be happening next year and grading and catching up, and some are pro repeat all grades next year. And how would this affect the program if that went forward? I guess we'll have to cross that bridge. Maybe that's the answer to the question. Is maybe we'll have to cross that bridge when we get to it. But
we have discussed how are we going to know where our kids are when we get them back again. So again, you know, I marvel at our teachers and what a good job they've done in those primary grades. We spent a few weeks where you have the interventionists come in to the classroom, they watch kids play, they do some observations, they do some screening. So even early on when the school year begins, we'll be doing some assessing to find out what were the challenges with this? You know, what are we noticing? But we won't know until we have our kids back again and we can actually assess the situation.
Jay, I think you're right. I think that I don't know. I believe that we should just extend it, vote for an extension, because I think that things are going to be different versus we're having a transitional program. Because what happens if they do go through and we have universal pre-K? I say we extend it, and maybe that's what we vote on in our next regular board meeting. Does that give enough faith for the kindergarten teacher in the transitional program? Beth, does that meet?
I know I saw her name. Beth, are you there?
I see her face.
I'm here. I'm on my hotspot from my phone because we have no internet in Gills Ferry right now.
Oh, Terry told us about the tree that came down.
So I'm caught part of that, Kim, but I think the extension of the TK program is a wise idea and truly beneficial for Groton's children. Is there another part to the question, because you're popping in and out on me?
Well, I'll try to. I'm not going to talk fast because then it's just garbled. I think I wanted to make sure, does this give the kindergarten teams and the principals enough knowledge that the board is very in favor of this program, and because we want to do an extension because of how things might look differently in a year from now because of the 2 new schools and such.
I think so. I think, you know, as we go through this for another year, you learn more and we can find out how this can be either expanded with all of our new schools or where we need to go with it.
Yeah, I think so too. Because I think that there's going to be value in the data that we get from Meg's your class once they get tested to see, and also to kind of see how they perform when we come in to school. So I think that there is some value, even though they're going to be missing 3 months of school or 4 months of school. So I think there's a value to that. Any other further conversation about that? Andrea.
I just wanted to add my support because the information that we're going to get from this year it's an anomaly, and I think we need another year, especially to provide data for the kindergarten teachers and for us, because this year is not a true test. So I just want to lend my support.
Thank you, Andrea.
Thank you.
All right. Hearing no other conversation about that, I'm going to move us away from the transitional kindergarten program. Thanks to all the teachers for coming.
Thank you, guys.
Good to see everyone's face. Thank you for doing what you're doing. Corey, go back to your schoolwork. All right.
Never mind, he's doing all that training for us.
Thank you for taking the time to listen. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Carrie.
All right.
Thank you very much for all the support. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Bye, Meg.
All right. So Dr. Grenier,
Yes.
so are there other people who are here needing to talk about any of the agenda topics? That since we've already moved an agenda topic, if there's other people who are hanging out just to talk about an agenda topic, should we do that?
I don't think so. I thought Denise might be here, but I don't see her.
Okay. All right. So then
I hope she got the invite.
No, I'm here.
Oh, I'm
Okay.
sorry.
Yeah, that's okay.
You were well hidden. So if you want, Kim, you could do the distance learning, because Susan's going to do the regular ed and Denise is going to do the special ed, and that'd be probably a good thing to do.
that would be great. And I appreciate that some of you have changed your sort of background so that we can see different parts of the house. I'm very appreciative of that. Just want to let you know. So update on distance learning.
So I'll just give a broad brushstroke about what's going on, and then Denise can kind of help do the deep dive into all the intricacies of special education and speech and language. But as you know, this is a 3-phase plan, and Dr. Grenier has put together a wonderful article that we hope will be published in the newspaper about what distance learning looks like in Groton. I really applaud our district with their motto of go slow and grow, and we can talk to you about how the slow pacing helps people to feel more comfortable, but how the growing and getting professional development helps with their expertise around the area of distance learning. And those two things together, I think, have been instrumental in laying this out. While Mike and I have gotten calls or emails from parents that have said it's either too much work or not enough work, most of the responses, and we've surveyed parents from every school, teachers are surveying parents on a regular basis, most of them are saying it's just right. It's not too hot, it's not too cold, it's just about right. But I think that because we're pacing it out, you know, we realize families have a lot of needs. You've got parents working from home, you've got kids trying to, you know, get on the internet, and when the internet's not working, like Beth was saying, it gets choppy. You have some older kids taking care of siblings, maybe even having work to do. So we just have to be responsive to what are the social emotional needs happening in the home front. And our teachers have families that they're working with as well. So I would say the broad picture was really starting out with that supplemental learning and getting kids engaged in learning for those first couple weeks. The next phase has been to launch these Google Classrooms for the elementary and middle school. Schoolology, the first week, did a really horrific job. The company had a lot of trouble. Sorry. They had a lot of trouble with the actual device. So kids were off and on, but now it seems like it's really taking care of itself and it's doing much better. So kids are able to get on Schoology. We had a lot of teachers starting to reach out, doing that Google Voice, counselors reaching out to kids, really engaging them more. And then I would say some of the pre-recordings were done, and teachers were sending out lessons, mini lessons, or read alouds in the lower grades, and so that the kids could see their teacher. Even some reached out individually to students. So we got a lot of feedback where that just is exactly what my child needed at the time. They needed to see and hear from their teacher. So, and as we go into this next phase, with some continued professional development around everything from Zoom and the platforms, and even Teachers College is offering to show teachers kind of to experience what does this distance learning look like? What are those things that we want to make sure we get to in reading and writing for the end of the year? And what's the best way to lay it out, either asynchronously or synchronously? So I think we're on a pretty good path. We just have to keep monitoring it to make sure everybody's okay. So that's it for me, Denise.
Okay. Did you want me to go next, Kim? Did anyone have any questions for Susan?
Go ahead, Denise. I'm sure we'll have, oh, Liz, sorry.
I'm sorry. I just had a question because this was posed to me. And one of the concerns is that how is this distance learning initiative going to impact the way we deliver instruction? Have we considered how this is going to impact the future? You know, that some children will say, well, I could do this from home and I did okay, but I don't want to go to school. So I just want to put it out there. Is this something we may be considering for kids who have, let's say, severe anxiety issues, or, that we could use this tool to help deliver instruction to them in the future? Just throwing it out there.
Well, in part, we already have different kind of alternative programs for kids who do have problems with that, and using the APEX program like we do, where, and we use it in the summertime as well, where kids can get credit recovery, they can take courses to get ahead, they can take things like SAT prep courses. So we do, my kid said early on, a couple years ago, he wanted every child before they left Groton Public Schools to have an online course. Well, now we've experienced this whole distance learning, and I think it will inform. There's a lot of opportunity here for the classroom and for the classroom teacher. I mean, I think about inquiry-based and research-based learning, and how kids can really, and mastery-based learning, where kids can really find something that they want to study and work together in groups and do a lot of it on their own, more independently, with the teacher's, facilitation. So yeah, I think it could be a positive. And on snow days, what about snow days? Maybe we wouldn't have snow days. A couple principals had mentioned that. We could do distance learning if we had one-to-one.
And the other thing I was thinking too is that if a teacher is not able to come into work because they have a sick child at home, they could actually do the lesson. This was something that was brought up to me a couple of years ago about, well, a former teacher said, well, if my kids were homesick, and instead of having to use a sub, we could have, use it a Zoom type of lesson. It's just some ideas that I want to make sure that we are considering as we go forward with this.
Liz, that sounds like a wonderful referral to the curriculum committee once this
all. Oh, gee. Hi, Andrea. Okay.
This all kind of, once the dust settles, I think it's going to be something that we are going to have policy on. We're going to, that we need to sort of be able to have parameters on it. So I think that is true. Gretchen, did you have a question? So Gretchen, we can't hear you.
I just wanted to remind Liz that in your younger classrooms, it's
Great.
Can she put it in the chat box?
Yeah. Gretchen, you're going to need to put it in the chat box. Unfortunately, your internet's not working well either. Thank you, Gretchen. So Gretchen, while you're typing, we'll come back to you, but let's go to Denise. Where did Denise go? Oh, wait, I'm sorry, Rita.
Yep, before we leave this subject, I'd really like to make a referral about using virtual learning for snow days. I know they do it in Rhode Island. I don't know, Mike, if whether or not, if we would have to do this in terms of our district with Learn. I know there are a lot of other districts that are very much interested in doing this. Or is this something that the state would have to weigh in on?
Mike?
Well, the first thing I was going to say, I think it's a terrific idea. When we are trying to put together a plan to make sure when we ultimately open up, we have sufficient number of computers. We gave out 2,500 computers. Many of them actually were sort of end of life. So I was talking to Dennis and Susan today about trying to replenish those. That's going to be the big thing moving forward, Liz. If we have the ability to pull this rabbit out of our hat, it is. I must confess. Well, you all know it in your own lives. This is difficult stuff. We're working hard to make this happen, but we have ordered charging stations at the middle school, and we're trying to do that at the elementary school, where kids can get their computer and get it out quickly. But the notion of projects and learning at home, I think, is for sure a reality. You know, and I hate to say it, but I'm a Dr. Fauci fan, and he says this is not over. This is coming back next year, so we need to be ready. And you know, we did a great job distributing computers, but and we gave out every single one of our cellos and violins. You know, good luck getting them all back in perfect shape. So that's part of our budgetary movement right now. But yeah, we are very much, Liz, looking forward instructionally. I think we've taken a big step forward in distance learning. I think teachers see the value of it. And I think the special ed folks are seeing that we can deliver these services online. As long as we have the commitment, I mean, the equipment, and now we're waiting with bated breath for the internet, the hotspots. There's still about 100 kids that are not on, and that's a very troubling problem that we have to try to figure out. But anyway, yes, the short answer is, Liz, we are thinking very hard about this and trying to plan. And I think snow days and that sort of thing is going to be a real possibility.
So Mike, I think that was Rita that had asked that question. But Rita, it sounds to me that not only does referral need to go to curriculum, but it also sounds like it needs to go to finance and facilities, because it sounds to me like we're going to need to sort of develop that into our budget to make sure that our kids have access to that type of equipment.
Yep.
I'd also like to hear from kids. I know that we have two very astute board members who are students, and I think in curriculum, I don't know, with Dr. Ackerman's permission, maybe a topic like that might be interesting to bring some of our Fitch High School students to discuss.
That would be very cool.
Yeah, that'd be awesome if we could kind of be in that and give a student perspective.
Could you give us a little update, Addie and Zay, on your experience with distance learning this week?
Yeah, so I've definitely seen more teachers kind of reach out with different media or mediums, sort of. So I've seen more like audio clips, more Zoom and Google Meet meetings, definitely.
Thanks.
So I think what I've noticed is that there's a lot more, I guess teachers are kind of discovering all the different things Schoology has and everything. So yeah, so there's a lot. There's definitely, I think, a lot of things that they're exploring, and I think it's generally gotten better and more interesting and easier to connect with people.
That's good news.
Zay,
It is a learning curve for all of us.
so Zay, what's your experience?
I'd say it's still pretty much the same as last week. The teachers are still kind of trying to get the flow of how Schoology really works, because even before we were like using it, but it wasn't as essential as it is now. But besides that, everything's working like pretty fine. Schoology isn't crashing as much as it was last week. So I think they kind of fixed that a little. But yeah, besides that, everything's really working like so far. Teachers are getting good about grading stuff and understanding us, like if we need extra time doing something or if we're struggling doing this. But yeah.
Thank you, Zay.
Mr. Manfred discussed with us this morning about how he puts out his agenda for the week and gives kids time and knows that, you know, we've said to, you know, to not go for the zeros, to really give kids extra time. And I think that's part of the work too, is to realize that sometimes you need to catch up on the weekend. So I think he feels that his students are giving him positive feedback about that kind of a system where he's checking in every day. They're doing assignments every day. People do it in different rates of speed, you know, depending on what they've got going on. But he feels it's getting easier too as a teacher. It's getting to be in its flow, shall we say.
Yeah, I've noticed a lot of teachers seem to be kind of just, I mean, they're giving assignments every other day, but it's more of like, get it all done in a week, and that's good. And then they'll check in and see if you need help if you don't get it in at that time. But it seems to be a little more laid back, which is cool. So if you need to get all your work done early, you can send it in, or later, and it's a little easier and more flexible, which I think is very.
Kim, before we leave regular ed, I have a question whenever there's time.
All right, Rita.
Are you ready?
Sure.
Yeah. Okay, my question is about music. What is going on with instrumental music in terms of students having lessons, and also the chorus, and, you know, what is happening with that? We haven't heard anything about music, and I just wasn't sure what was going on.
I'm gonna have to check. I don't know, but I'll get back to you.
I know that
Addie,
in
Addie
elementary.
knows, good.
Yeah, Addie knows.
Yeah, I can definitely speak. I'm in jazz band at Fitch, so we haven't really been able to play together, obviously, and I'm not sure how Zoom and Google Meet would work with that, just because of like different lags and like Wi-Fi. So right now it's more about we're learning transcriptions, like music on our own, and then we have discussions on Schoology where we're talking with each other about different music we've listened to, and the techniques and stuff that we're learning on our own. So it's mostly, and I think this is true for concert band and all the bands, at least I don't know about chorus, but it seems to be specifically like focused on your own learning and not so much the whole pieces with everyone.
And if we could find out about instrumental, because I know my little granddaughters are actually having their violin lessons, you know, online. So I was just wondering, for all the students, like you said, if you gave out the violins and the cellos, and those students that have trumpets and everything else, it'd be nice to know what's happening with their lessons.
Sure,
Thanks.
I'll find out and I'll get word to you.
Thank you.
Rita, I actually could kind of give you a little update about what chorus is kind of doing, because I actually have a couple friends in that class.
Okay.
As of right now, Mr. Frost, the choral teacher, is just like allowing them to do solo pieces for like half an hour every other day, like when they have that class, because obviously they can't see each other, which is like really hard because it's a chorus class and you kind of have to see each other. But that's really all that I could help out with. That he's just like allowing them to sing that their pieces that they were trying to do before the whole quarantine that we went into. But yeah.
I've
Thank
seen
you.
some beautiful work. I think Ledyard's chorus did something where they took all those singleton pieces and put it
Yes.
together. You know, and so you never know with technology. In a couple weeks, we might be seeing something that is really pretty powerful when you bring all those voices together.
All right, so I think, Gretchen, you sent the chat to everyone. I think it was just a statement in terms of a parent's concern about drawing the picture. I didn't see a question in that, so I'm just going to say that that was a decent statement. Thank you very much. But let's go to Denise.
Hey, thank you. Thanks, Kim. Good evening, everyone. So it's very interesting because it's looking like the role of special education and related services staff during the closure is very similar to what it is when school is open. So there's several key responsibilities that we've been busy working on as a group. There's been collaboration, and by collaboration, I mean collaboration among grade level teams. So the preschool teachers are jigsawing a matrix of activities that they post on Monday for the students to complete by Friday. And everyone takes a piece.
I'm sorry.
Oh, that's okay. And everyone takes a piece that's aligned to the ELDs, which is their standards. And then they also add additional activities that align with the goals and objectives for the students. We're collaborating with the general ed teachers because we're generally working through the general ed classroom. We're collaborating with paras and tutors, and we're collaborating with administrators. So we meet weekly with each department. So for example, Mark Peluso meets with the high school resource teachers, Nadine meets with the elementary resource teachers, Lori Luciani meets with the mental health teachers and the academy teachers. I meet with the self-contained teachers and the speech teachers and the OT. So we're doing a lot of collaboration, which is what we usually do when school is opened. We're also doing a lot of modifications. So we're modifying assignments that classroom teachers are posting in their Google Classroom. We're also providing some small group classrooms in Google that would look a lot like what a resource class would look like. So they're creating Google Classrooms with small groups of students that are either in the same grade level or that are working on the same skill. And they're targeting those students in a more direct and explicit way. Next, they're providing support. And their support looks like reteaching, which is what they normally would do in the resource room. It also looks like providing clarification. So answering questions, providing more detailed explanations, modeling, showing examples, very similar to what we do when school is in session. And then lastly, we're starting to focus more explicitly on the growth component of our Go Slow and Grow theme. So we're looking at, you know, what does growth look like in this model? And it looks different for different teachers. So I just wanted to show you my screen. If it's okay with you, I'll be really quick. I wanted to show you what it will look like, or what it is looking like for the speech people. So in working with Sarah Moon at Learn, we have this link to SLP Telecon. It's a teleconference. And you can see there are many webinars here that are being replayed from April 6th to May 6th. I watched the first one before our meeting. It's really just the nuts and bolts of telepractice. There's also a webinar if you work with speech and language assistants, which we don't. But this one I'm very interested in looking at tomorrow, creating and adapting therapy materials. Here's one on keeping young children engaged. So these are all free webinars that are available to us. And I was really pleased I was able to view one of them since I'm not an SLP. But many of these webinars are now free. And even though they were shown live at an earlier date, we're able to go in and we're able to watch them as recorded sessions. So we're looking for similar workshops through NASP, the National Association of School Psychologists, for our school psychs to watch and our social workers. And we're working with Zoom conferences for our other staff, and Susan has connected us with a presenter from Teachers College that the teachers are working with and learning from. So that really, right now, is where we're at, and we're looking at ways to share our learning and document our learning and, you know, talk when we meet weekly about what we're learning.
Any questions from the board? Denise, thank you. Rita?
I have a question. Denise, when are you going to be starting your IEPs for next year? How are you going to be handling that?
Sure. So on Thursday, when we found out that school is now closed until May 20th, we reached out to Michelle Laubin, our attorney, for guidance, because we were thinking of something similar to the passive consent form that we sent out about our distance learning activities. So in other words, if we were to have PPT meetings, there are some permission forms that need to be signed, because we can wear headphones so that people in our home can't hear the meeting, but they can hear us speaking. So we want to be sure that we're not violating any confidentiality laws. And Attorney Laubin reassured us that this week they are expecting guidance from the state and the federal government in terms of what it would look like to have virtual PPT meetings. So she said, hold off a little bit longer. Guidance is coming this week. We have been told prior to this that the focus would be on annual reviews and triennial reviews. Any other type of PPT, we could do either an IEP amendment or hold off and meet in September. So we are expecting that at some point we will be convening virtual PPTs, and we're looking forward to the guidance that we'll be receiving in terms of what that would look like.
Thank you. And could we also get a link to the webinar that you had posted? Is that possible?
Yeah, I can send you the
just send it in our board, you know, we can just look at it in our board notes, or I just think that would be interesting for I'd like to see some of them. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm learning a lot.
Yeah.
Any other question for Denise? You guys are amazing.
Thank you.
Amazing.
Thanks, Denise.
Thank you, everybody.
All right, so I'm going to move us on. Dr. Grenier, I see that we have Amy and Miss Hodge with us, and so
Just,
is that
just
for
as spectators?
they're just spectators,
they
or
are.
are they here to talk about the coordinator job?
Aren't we going to go up to number 2? I mean, we missed number 2. We skipped 2, and
Rita, let me.
Okay.
Yeah, Kim.
I think if we had visitors here for another agenda topic, I'm trying to get to them so that they don't have to stay on for the whole time. Okay.
I actually called him, Kim. I thought that there might have been a misunderstanding, but both Amy and Carmita are just interested and they want to observe the meeting.
Awesome. I'm glad that you're here, guys. Thank you. All right, Rita, we're going to go to number 2.
Good.
So I just wanted to give you a couple of fairly important updates. One is the commissioner and the State Board of Ed has actually granted a fair amount of flexibility to boards in terms of how to proceed throughout the rest of this year. The first topic was on grading. The State Board and the Commissioner are recommending that we go to a kind of a pass-fail system. The high school folks are still thinking about this. We certainly know that some students don't have the ability, a handful, don't have the ability to get online, and so we have to be careful with that. Pass-fail may be an option. Pass with distinction may be an option. There may be, at least at the high school, there may even be the possibility of some sort of grading. And I'll let Ted and his guys come in, and I think they pretty much finished. Addie and Zay, have we finished the third quarter I think, right? And the report cards are going out. You guys know that?
Could you repeat the question?
Yeah, I thought the report cards were going out for the third quarter, like next week or something. Is that your understanding?
Well, we know that the third quarter ended last week on Thursday, April 9th, but I'm not quite sure how report cards are working right now.
Okay.
Don't really know about the whole mail
My
stuff.
understanding is it's going to be a grade, like a real grade, because so much of it was done. The real question is what are we going to do for the last quarter? But there's a fair amount of flexibility about that. There are concerns about equity and making sure all kids. Ted Kelleher was talking today about the possibility of giving grades, but extending incompletes to the fall, at least for the non-seniors. In other words, if a kid doesn't have a chance to finish the course, we don't want to say they did poorly in the course. We want to give them the opportunity, which sort of takes us, Liz, takes the distance learning into next fall, perhaps, or the summer. The second thing is the State Board of Ed has given local boards a really great latitude in terms of graduation requirements. For example, if there's a course, like, I don't know, like welding or something, that you can't really replicate online, boards can waive that requirement and let students graduate anyway. I know they've reached out. Some school systems use pass-fail, and it turns out if you're an athlete trying to play intercollegiate sports, you get a D automatically for a pass. Even if you did really well, you get a D. And so they've worked out an arrangement with the NCAA that that's not true, and they've worked out an arrangement with all the Connecticut colleges that a pass will be honored and accepted. But of course, Addie and others are not probably going to state universities. So we're still trying to work out, what would Brown say about a pass? Well, I'm sure they would accept it, but we don't know where that falls in with the GPA and all the accolades that come from that sort of grading system. And then we just got something today that Susan will be happy to hear about. We have been given the ability for non-renewed people to extend them a whole year, but even if that was their fourth year, they won't become tenured. Does that make sense? In other words, if you're not ready to make the decision, and frankly, we had a couple that we were not quite ready. In other words, the people who we were sure we didn't want to renew, we told. The people that we were not sure, we were like, oh man, we thought we had until May, but now they've extended it like a whole year if we want. So that's really good news. Of course, you've seen the headlines. We're out of school until the 20th of May. If we came back on the 21st of May, there would be 17 days left in the school year. So we'll see. I can tell you, and I'll give you a report next week. We're really trying to think seriously about helping the teachers pack up out of the middle school, because we don't want to wait until the 21st of May, even if we could come back, because 17 days would not be sufficient time to pack everything up and get it over to the new middle school. So I think what we're going to do is I'm going to, with Mark's help, I'm going to tape a little show and a little video for the middle school folks. And then we're going to give them a virtual tour of the school. We're going to take a camera and walk around the classrooms and just give them a sense of, the sober reality is teachers don't have their own classrooms anymore. That's been true for about the last 15 years of new buildings. And God knows schools never had very much storage. So they have to be really careful about how they pack and what they pack. But we've got a mover, and he's prepared to help us with lots of boxes and all that sort of stuff. So that's the big issue vis-a-vis the school closure. And the last thing I'll say is that the governors of Connecticut, New Jersey, and New York, I think agreed yesterday that they would make a decision jointly about school closures, all three states. And speaking as someone who grew up in Manhattan, I don't see New York opening up anytime soon. It's, you know, they lost another 700 people today. I mean, it's just god awful. So, you know, maybe the CIHC has not canceled the sports season yet, which, you know, I hope they may. I think they have a meeting on the 23rd of April the part of the problem with the season, by the way, is that you have athletes trying to keep in shape and get ready, but they're not supposed to be close to anybody, and you know, so it becomes a bit of a problem for the kids. But so we're hanging in there. I think as Susan explained, the distance learning is going pretty well. I think Addie and Zay know their teachers are getting a little better at this. I was tempted to send everybody the Saturday Night Live Zoom session, but it was a little too obscene, so I don't think I should do that. But I would encourage everybody to watch it, because if you think we're nutty, you should see them on.
We did today.
Oh, you did? Anyway, that's it for me, Kim.
So any other questions? I got Liz, Rita, I got Liz. Anyone else before Rita? Andrea, do you have anything? Jay? Jane? All right, Liz and then Rita.
Okay, Dr. Grenier, just a quick question about GPAs. I know that some schools in the country do not use GPAs anymore for college admittance. Is this something that you see that, you know, some high schools don't even calculate GPAs?
Yeah.
Is that a trend in Connecticut, and do you see that possibly changing? And the other question I have is about those 100 kids at the high school that don't have the ability to get online. Are they being sent things by you know, snail mail? You know, dropping it in the mail and sending things to them in, you know, hard copy.
Well,
Those are my two questions.
Okay. I'm just looking at the state guidance, and it says for this year, GPA will be calculated based on the performance while students were in school. So I think what they're going to do is use the 7th semester GPA, and that will be it. Which is basically the way we've always done it, because you can't wait until the summer to pick your valedictorian.
Right.
So the 7th semester is that's not necessarily a bad way to do it. But in terms of what you said, I don't know if I pointed this out. We purchased. There's a system through Google that provides a personal phone number. It's called Google Voice, and so we purchased about 35 Google Voice accounts and gave them to the counselors, the social workers, all the, you know, the sort of mental health school psychologists. So they've been reaching out. In answer to your question, Liz, we've been calling the people. If they can't get on, we call them, and we are getting them information. And I suspect some people are able to go and download their kids' stuff at work if they're working, or they go to a friend's house. There doesn't seem to be a kind of a blackout on that information.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Welcome.
Jay, and then Rita.
Are you saying Jay or Jane?
I said Jay, but Jane, do you have a question?
No, I don't have a question, but I'm so impressed by the positive changes that are occurring. A lot of this would have come about in the future, but we're on the fast track, and it's like the future is now. It's very positive and very exciting.
Yeah.
And thanks to everyone. This probably is not happening everywhere, but it certainly is in Groton.
Jay.
Yes, hi. I know that probably most of our questions tonight are premature because there really have been no decisions about a lot of things. But when it comes to this pass-fail, will the individual students have the ability to choose which way to go? whether they.
Great question. I can tell you the high school administration is really, really conflicted. They do not want to do pass fail. They think we could do something better than that for our kids. We need to be fair, but I would say that's an interesting suggestion, Jay, that if you want a grade, you've earned a grade, you've done your work, I can't imagine a scenario where we would say no. But I'm going to share that with Ted. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jane, I mean, Rita.
Hi. A couple of things. One is that I agree with the grading, that it should be up to the student also if they would want a grade as opposed to a pass-fail. I know a lot of the private colleges are giving the students an option to take either a grade or a pass-fail. So let's say you have a chemistry class and you're not doing great in it, I'll take a pass in that one. But if you've done really well in another class, and I feel that, you know, our students that have worked very hard should be recognized for that. And if they want a grade, the teacher should give them a grade. The other thing is I watched the governors of Connecticut. I watched that conference today with all the neighboring states. And according to Governor Cuomo, he feels that the economy cannot be open until the schools are back in session because people need childcare. They need to have a place for their children to go. So even though there may not only be 17 days left to school, it might be important as a way to get the economy moving forward. And they all seem to be in agreement that whatever New York does, Connecticut will do, New Jersey, Rhode Island was even on the call, Pennsylvania, Delaware. I was really fascinated by it. So that's, and I also wanted to mention at the Learn Board meeting last week, a lot of the towns are picking graduation dates. They're picking one for the end of June, like the normal one maybe in August, and then one in November around Thanksgiving. So I think that's something we need to think about in the future when we're giving kids options. Once we know a little bit more about whether or not the schools will be closed, I think it's important that we as a board select graduation dates in advance. That's all.
Anything else? Yeah, Rita, I just think that this is such a moving target. But I had the same thought about how are we, how are they going to start the economy if there's still families who are taking care of their children? I mean,
right.
So, all right.
Yeah, Jay?
I actually have a quick question.
Zay. Yeah, please. I'm sorry, Zay.
It's perfect fine. I know a vast majority of juniors, including myself, were relying on the SAT day that Fish High School was supposed to have in March, but was canceled due to COVID-19. Is there any update on what is going to happen with the juniors who haven't had the opportunity to take the real SAT? Because I know most scholarship applications request SAT scores. I just wanted to bring this concern to light because I've been getting a lot of questions and concerns about it.
Question.
There is, I did receive from Education Testing Service, and I'm going to send a note to Ms. McGuire. She's sort of the point person on this, but I know they suggested a couple of dates, and that they kind of pushed it off a bit. It is obviously a super important exam. The state uses it as its measure of statewide testing. I'll have to get back to you, and I'll get that word to you, Zay.
All right, anything else? I'm sure we'll be having this as an agenda topic next week as well, because I'm sure there's going to be updates or changes.
Right.
So can we go back? Can we go to the review of the curriculum coordinator job description? And Dr. Grenier, would you like to kind of start off the conversation, please?
Sure. Just let me find the document. So all we know at this point is that the board the board has created this position. So Lori and Ted and Peter, I'm not sure if Susan had a hand in this, got together and did a draft of a job description. And I just want to hit some highlights that are important to me, and I'd appreciate your feedback if you think we need to add anything. But basically the duties, the responsibilities, if you look at under responsibilities, instructional leadership, like to help out with the district and statewide assessments, I think would be super helpful. A couple of bullets down is support the MYP and IB instruction. We're coming down the home stretch on the MYP grades 6 through 10, so we'll use some help there. In terms of students, the one that is the special education curriculum coordinator, that person would help out with PBTs. That would be enormously helpful at both the high school and the elementary school. I mean, middle school. So that's a key. Under D, and the other, of course, the other big thing is to help with the evaluation. I think I mentioned that at the high school, Ted Kelleher and Matt Brown each evaluate, I think, 41 teachers. So this would be an opportunity in their area of expertise, like the STEM person would presumably evaluate some of the STEM teachers. They would also be involved in recruitment and hiring and so forth, which would be really terrific. And then really what led to this is the alignment of 6 through 12, both vertically, so that we have 6 and 7 and 8, then flowing into 9 and 10, and then across horizontally. And then G, I'll end with 2 things. And G is they would teach no more than 3 classes. In other words, they would be in a 6-period schedule. They would teach 3, no more than that. And then the last thing is per the AGA contract, and we haven't negotiated this yet. We're just trying to get the job description together. That they would work 200 days, and that I think that'd be really helpful in terms of some of the curriculum work that we're hoping to get done, and in terms of the paperwork for the evaluations and so forth. So I think it's a good first draft, but I'd be interested in your feedback.
Can I just add one more thing? One of the things that's been very important to us, and I know Andrea as the chair of the curriculum committee and taking part of curriculum and instruction council, is that we look at every discipline K-12. So we've brought together these task forces that look at curriculum K-12, but I think that if we could have that kind of leadership at the secondary level, and I have the leadership with literacy folks and math folks from every school at the elementary, and we're able to bring those people together kind of on a regular basis, that's really going to improve our articulation of curriculum. Did you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So I see it as a real benefit to the district to have that kind of leadership at the secondary level. And, I see that we can really make some gains with that.
Thank you. Liz, I know that you have a couple questions.
Yeah, first of all, when you talk about STEM, I assume it's going to be science and math combination, correct?
Yes.
ELA, what are you looking for in that respect?
English language arts.
English language arts. So then what's humanities?
World language, social studies, art. What we tried to do is paint a pretty broad picture. It's not going to cover every single subject area, but if we could get someone from those areas to help out, then we would still have department head. Like, let's say, for example, the humanities person turns out to be a world language teacher. We would still have a social studies department head and an arts department head, but this person would help out with the curriculum, supervision, evaluation, and so forth of those subject areas.
Well, my question then is, if you have a humanities person that's world language and social studies, and it turns out to be somebody like me, a social studies person,
Right.
how can they do evaluation of, let's say, a French teacher, Latin teacher,
Right.
or or a Spanish teacher? So
Yeah.
I understand what you're trying to do, but I would caution. I feel that would be a very difficult combination. That's just my
Yeah, no, you're
my
right.
input.
If we end up with, say, a social studies person in that position, I think there are 13 or 14 just at the high school and several at the middle school. So they would probably just stick with social studies, and then the principal, assistant principals would continue their supervision of the other subject. It would be far better than we have now. It's not perfect. I'm not saying. I mean, it'd be great if we had a curriculum person in pretty much every. Like I don't want to get your ire up, but in the old days, that was the perfect way.
And yeah, I understand. And no, you're not getting my ire up. I got to tell you, this makes me very happy. I was looking down at instructional leadership in the last bullet on A.
Yeah.
And you have an et cetera at the end. I would like us to consider, or I'd like you to consider putting a period instead of et cetera. I feel that's personally, that's too open-ended. And I just think it needs to have some finite definition, a finite, this is your job. So not an et cetera.
Okay.
That's just my input. So you answered my question about department head. You are still going to maintain department heads for those areas that are not going to have a department chair.
Precisely.
Okay. Because I think that needs to be, maybe that needs to be added here, or somehow that's delineated. I'm just a little concerned that the vocabulary is going to get confused. Department head versus department chair. Instruction, maybe I'm the one that's a little messing up with curriculum coordinator. So I just want to make sure that we're not using those terms interchangeably.
Right. Yeah, and we'll talk about that language. So someone else weighed in on that, and I'm looking for it right now, but we'll make that clear. Thank you.
I think that was Andrea. So Andrea, do you want to speak to
that?
that?
Andrea, that's right. Thank you.
I just wanted to speak to what Liz said about the et cetera. When I sent out my email today with all my recommendations for consistency, I really looked at that et cetera, and I didn't mark it, but I agree fully with Liz, and I too am concerned about. I didn't realize that the curriculum coordinators were going to be other than the department heads. So that's some thinking that just came from this conversation. I didn't realize that. I thought they were going to be one and the same.
Well, let me be clear. If to use Liz's example, if a social studies person becomes the humanities curriculum coordinator, they would still be they would be in charge of the social studies department, but there would still be a world language department head. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Well, let me give you a better example. If we pick a math teacher to be the STEM guy, there would still be a science department head, but the math guy would be in charge of the math depointment.
Or gal.
Yeah,
Or gal,
I'll have to think about that. Okay, thank you.
But would both of them have limited class? See, that's where classes that they're teaching, that's where I'm getting confused. And I just want us to make sure that, you know, we are being consistent as well as addressing the needs of the different departments.
Rita, I saw you had some expression. Do you want to?
Yes. Well, I was just shocked that I didn't realize that in our budget we have 4 positions. I never knew that. I mean, these are 4 different people that are all going to be in the administrators union, and I didn't know the financial impact of having them only teach 3 periods a day. What is that going to do with the teaching load for other teachers? And are we going to have to hire more teachers if these coordinators are teaching fewer classes?
Well,
and I don't know why we need a special, I mean, I'm sorry, I think our special education department is, it's just grown exponentially in terms of our administration, and I can't understand why we need another special education coordinator to spend that money on that person when we already have a big special education department now that we never did before. I mean, it just, you know, to me, it's a big expense for our district. And I really thought we were just talking about one coordinator, because you have this as secondary curriculum coordinator, not coordinators there. And I also want to know even like what you're thinking in terms of the financial impact this is going to have. And I'd like to know what you're thinking about for salaries. Does it depend on the experience of the person who gets the job? I just don't know. But I'm really, I understand what Liz says about how many classes does a, curriculum coordinator teach? How many does a department head teach? To me, it's extremely confusing. And I think it should be one or the other. And I think if somebody's a math person, well, if Matt Brown and the principal, Mr. Keller, are already evaluating 41, they're not both math and I mean, I know Matt Brown is math, but that you can still evaluate somebody without being in that subject matter. And for science and math, I mean, look at the principals are doing it now, and the assistant principals.
Right.
So I just find this like kind of overwhelming, and I didn't know it was going to come up this way. Sorry.
Let me take a minute to review what we said in the budget deliberations. We originally started with the idea that perhaps there would be a curriculum coordinator, and that curriculum coordinator would probably come from, the initial thought was it would probably come from a high school department head that is currently teaching 4 subjects. And so that if they became a curriculum coordinator and taught 3 subjects, that we would be down 1 subject and one class. So I said to Mr. Kelleher, what would happen in 4 departments if we said 1 less class per department? And he felt that they could sustain that sort of loss without having to add teachers. And then the budgetary part was that I was saying that in all likelihood, these curriculum coordinators are going to be senior teachers, veteran teachers, and who in round figures make about $100,000 a year, and our lower paid administrators make about $123,000, I think, $1,000 a year. So my thought was we would give 50% of the salary of a teacher and 50% of the salary of an administrator. So if you blend those 2 together, instead of it being $100,000, it would be about $112,000. So that when the board went over this during the budget meeting, we realized that we could pick up these 4 positions for, in round figures, about 50,000, about 50,000. So the financial impact is not quite as severe as it appears.
But why special education? I mean, I would rather see it as another curriculum coordinator, let's say for English, 4 languages in the high school. But why special education?
Well, I think part of, I really, I'm sorry Denise went away.
So you know what, Mike?
Yeah.
I would much rather have us have the right information instead of making guesses.
Yeah.
So we are having another committee of the whole meeting.
Yeah.
Let's bring this back to that. Let's make sure that all the questions that we want Susan and Mike to have answered, if we don't have them right now, please let us make sure that that you guys get them to Mike or Sue, so that we can do it. So that's why we had this come up today, is that we wanted to take a look at the job description and we wanted to make sure that the board was on full understanding. So but Rita, for clarification, I do absolutely remember that the board approved the 4 positions.
I thought the board approved it, but if the budget changed, if we got down to 0, then we were going to revisit.
I don't ever remember having that
But
conversation.
that was my thought. You know, if we had to make cuts, what would it be?
Right.
So
I don't remember that piece, but anyway, so Rita, thank you for your questions. They're very thoughtful, and obviously we need some more information. So do we have other questions that we need to go to Mike or Susan about this, or and if not, how about?
You can always email them to us too, if you think of something.
Or you could have an improv Zoom meeting. No, sorry, I'm only kidding, because you can't. All right, so thank you for doing that. And so I'm going to move us on to our next agenda item, if that's okay. And the last 2 is the update for Malone and McBroom study.
I have to confess that Mike did not contact me this week, and
So we'll have it next week.
Yeah, I'm mindful of Rita's anxiety, and so we'll get going on this.
Well, you know, I mean, let's take a breath, folks. What our life looked like 5 weeks ago is completely different, and so Mike and Susan and the district have been moving at such a fast rate of speed that that's one of the reasons why I wanted our agendas to look normal again, because I want us, we can plod through it. There's some things that we have to move quickly, but I want us to make sure that we're being thoughtful and that we're taking breaths and that we're paying attention to process. So Mike, it's fine if we don't get that back.
We just sent him the data he was requesting. So he's got that this week. That was a plus. So he wasn't able to respond anyway, because it took us a while to get the data.
That's fine. That's all. It's all good. It's all good. So let's move us down to the financial update of the unanticipated expenses.
I'm gonna just give you an overview. I'm gonna let Sam explain, because he and Ken actually spoke with the SDA company today. The big picture is that the governor's executive order 7R said that boards of ed are expected to pay, meet their contractual obligations to the bus companies, certainly to pay for the employees and so forth. And so Ken did a thoughtful analysis of where by the way, they've driven the bus for 121 out of the 181 days. So we're short 60 days, which is almost exactly 2/3. They gave us 2/3, we're out 1/3. And so Ken did this analysis. We then called Floyd this morning, who made us look like experts when it came to Zoom, by the way. He was like really screwed up. I felt quite proud that our lawyer was like, and then he couldn't hear us. He didn't think we could hear him. He was like cursing and yelling that he couldn't get it to go on. It really was like Saturday Night Live. But anyway, he gave us his opinion. He wants to kind of weigh in, but we did an analysis, and I'll let Sam weigh in on a little bit on the details. Sam?
Good evening. So, Ken and I spoke with Joe Parisi and Tony Murgo today regarding the remaining balance on the STA contract. And with Ken's analysis, we are We've agreed with STA that we are within a reasonable number presently. We're about $70,000 difference between our number and their number right now. And we have, without giving you the exact numbers, we've sent our proposal on to their finance person who got on the phone with us as well. And she seemed to be pretty receptive of the number in just speaking with her, but she's going to look it over and she's going to get back to us tomorrow about that. So we're very close to an agreement.
So, Rita, do you have?
No, I just think Mike was talking.
Oh, sorry, I forgot to unmute. Kim, between the savings in diesel fuel and the bus contract, I believe we're going to come very close to the 496, which would be great.
I thought we weren't going to have the savings in diesel because we had a contract.
Yeah, well, Sam, you want to talk to that? We had another negotiation session with the diesel fuel guy, and Sam and Ken had a good outcome.
I'm here, Sam, if you want me to take
Oh,
that
good.
one.
I didn't know you were here, Ken. I'm sorry.
I don't have my picture. So what our diesel fuel supplier has recommended to us is that instead of paying liquidation costs for the remaining diesel gallons that we have in our contract, is that we could just buy them this year. We'd have to pay a storage fee, but we could buy them this year and then use them next year. And so that in that way we can save next year a little bit because we're kind of we can kind of pay for those now.
So we would reduce next year's budget by about $75,000.
That's right.
Which would be great.
Kim, next week, could we have an update on, we have unanticipated expenses here, but what our savings are going to be in terms of like the whole package, about maybe what we're going to be saving, because they're definitely going to be savings.
Yeah, we're planning on doing that. The problem with unanticipated savings is the issue of unanticipated expenses.
Right.
So when I was talking to Ryan Cheney, and he was the one who said that they gave out every single one of their cellos. And I can only imagine in September, we're going to say, well, we have X number that are need to be repaired, and so we want to be careful about that. And then the whole computer thing, I don't want to shock you, but Dennis was saying that he thinks we ought to buy about 1,400 computers, which with Alliance money, that's the unshocking part, and the Alliance people gave us the go ahead. We could actually do that. And it goes back to your point, Liz. We want to be prepared to reinstitute this if, God forbid, it happens, and we don't want to have semi-broken computers that we're going to be sending out. So I think there may be, and we'll make it work, but I'm concerned that we don't want to put ourselves in a terrible position next year by saying, oh great, we did save some money.
I want to be really clear. This is Kim speaking. I'm not speaking for the board. I'm just speaking from my position. Is that we were brought down to zero, and for legitimate reasons. Because of the COVID, I totally understand that. However, we're going to have unforeseeable circumstances that are going to happen next year.
Absolutely.
And I don't. It's not that I don't care about what savings we have, because I'm not trying to hoard our money, but we are because we don't have a lot of money. We do pretty good at our spending, but I want to make sure that we have what we need to kind of go forward next year, considering the fact that we're starting from the budget line of this year. And so we were able to get it down there, but it does not give us any wiggle room. So I want us to be very careful when we have conversations about what monies we're going to be saving, because I want to make sure that we have that we have money available to us so that we can kind of move forward, because I'm really scared, not about the amount of computers that we're going to buy, but I'm scared that we're going to buy them all at once, which means that their lifespan is going to be dead all at once. And what's our plan about that? And so I would really want to hear from Ken and from Dennis about what would be a plan about how to do that, because we might be able to do that right now for the monies, but like, I don't,
You're right.
Granted, I might not be on the board at that point, but I don't want to sock any other board to have to deal with how to get 1,400 computers.
If I could make one statement with your permission.
Please.
While there may be some savings along the way, we also have to consider that there have been more expenses due to this COVID experience that we're having. And while some of that may be reimbursable by the state or federally, generally those monies are not reimbursed to us in a timely fashion. So that money probably wouldn't come back before the next budget season, probably.
Totally agree with you on that. I just want to make sure, and I think that our colleagues from the RTM and Town Council, many of them would understand that. I mean, like this is like, once again, we're going to have opportunities that I think that we would have never explored in terms of distance learning, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But I think that there's some things that are going to come out of this that I want to make sure that we're not tying our hands as a district.
Kim, I think you misunderstood me. I mean, there are some savings that maybe we could move over to something else. But what I was told at a Learn meeting is that every board, the financial officer needs to keep track of all the extra expenses, because some of them will be reimbursed. Yes. And it needs to be documented a certain way. So that's extremely important that we keep track of everything, all the things that we need to do for the schools, for our custodians, whatever it is. I think it's because some of it will be, maybe it'll take a while to get it, but there will be money coming back to all the districts. So
Rita, you are correct. I did misunderstand you, and I apologize. Thank you for
That's okay.
Me too. I'm sorry.
That's all right.
We are doing that.
Good.
We actually have a little COVID-19 symbol with
Yes.
a whole bunch of.
That's what that's what I've heard you're supposed to do. Yeah. Thank you.
Good thing I talked for 5 minutes about nothing that you even meant. Sorry.
Okay. All right. So any other conversation about the about this item? No. If not, it looks like we are on future topics. I do think that we're going to do a referral to the curriculum, and I would also, Jay, like this also to go to the finance about looking at what would that look like in order to make sure that we could fund snow days at least. Because I think that that's a sooner conversation, not soon conversation. That's probably a sooner conversation than all the other virtual learning ones. So I do, that kind of came up earlier in the meeting is what I caught. Liz, did I see you have a?
Yeah, I just had a quick question. We got a letter in one of the emails today from Dr. Melissa, I can't even say her last name, Hickey, about the reading literacy director, about the Perkins 5. And I was wondering, is Perkins testing supposed to be taking place in the spring, correct? And if we don't have the Perkins testing, will we still be able to get Perkins grant monies for next year?
Yes, I believe the Perkins grant is available, yes.
Okay, so I was just kind of wondering what this was dealing with, that's all. Thank you.
Did I get it? Could you send it to me if I didn't?
You sent it to us.
What was it again?
It's an April 8th, 2020 letter to superintendents from Dr. Melissa K. something Hickey, Reading Literacy Director, Academic Office, 2020-21, Strengthening Career and Technical Education for the 21st Century Act, Intent to Apply process. And it was just a quick little overview, but having been in charge of Perkins at the high school for a couple of years.
Yeah,
I was wondering if this was another avenue for funds and if this was still going to be available and how we're going to be dealing with that.
We just wanted to throw our name in the hopper to
Yep.
say, yes, we're going to apply.
Okay. Thank you.
Jay, do you have a quick referral?
Yes, I was wondering if Mr. Kilpatrick might be able to bring us up to date on that new construction at the high school.
The greenhouse?
Exactly. I was glad to see that that was progressing.
All right, so that will be agenda topic that we can
We'll
add
do it next week. Sure.
next week.
Okay.
And graduation dates.
Okay.
So this year's has been set.
Oh,
No,
no, she was talking about August then.
Oh, August.
Maybe,
Oh,
maybe Addie,
And
you
the
could give it a
fall.
little thought, please.
okay.
yeah.
Addie, do you have any thoughts about graduation date? Oh, see, we caught her. She was busy doing something.
Yeah, I switched locations. Yeah,
We're talking about it maybe an August date. What do you think about that?
I think I've heard a lot from seniors who are just, they just want a graduation. I don't think it's a big deal. I think a lot of seniors are already expecting it to be pushed back.
Yeah.
So I don't think it'd be a big deal if it was in August. Yeah, I think as long as we have some sort of graduation, I don't think a lot of seniors will be angry or frustrated about it being pushed back just a little bit.
Well, as you know, Mr. Kelleher is dead set. We will have a graduation. So
That's good.
but that's good, Rita. We'll kick around a couple of dates. Like maybe we got to figure out when kids are. Maybe you can help us with this, Addie. When kids are going back, we don't want to have it so late that half the kids are off to college by that time.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it's quite frankly, there's going to be no way that we're going to be able to get 100% participation in terms of military and whatever. But I think that that they have been ours for so long that it's our obligation. I feel like it's so important that we make sure that that happens for them because it's such an important milestone. So good news. All right, anything else?
To adjourn.
Have a second?
Second.
Seconded it. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Abstain? Motion is carried. Our meeting is now over.
Good night.
Good night.
Good
Stay well.
night.